I remember the morning I set my alarm for 5 a.m. to start my day. The hustle culture had me convinced that waking up early was the path to success. The first week, I was tired but determined, thinking it was just part of the process. But as the days dragged on, the early mornings turned into a struggle. I'd stare at my ceiling, regretting my decision to wake up so early. Each morning felt like I was battling myself, trying to force discipline where it didn't feel natural. Rather than feeling accomplished, I was just exhausted. My productivity took a nosedive, and I felt like I was merely going through the motions. Many friends echoed my experience. They also attempted strict routines, whether with workouts or study schedules, only to end up burned out and feeling defeated. This relentless pursuit of discipline can leave us feeling trapped, fostering a cycle of guilt and frustration. We get so caught up in sticking to our plans that we neglect our physical and mental needs. Instead of growth, we find ourselves stuck, wondering if pushing harder is really the answer. But at what cost are we trying to succeed? So, what if I told you that there's a different approach to personal growth that doesn't rely solely on willpower? Let's explore that together. Imagine believing that self-discipline was the magic key to success, only to find out it's actually holding you back. That sounds strange, right? But the truth is much more complex. In my early 20s, I became obsessed with tracking every aspect of my life. I meticulously logged my meals, what is outs, and even my hours of sleep. I thought this rigid self-discipline would lead me to success. But after months of this, I reached a breaking point. My mood was low, my energy was depleted, and I felt more like a machine than a person. The irony? I was actually achieving worse results than when I allowed myself some leeway. I missed out on social events, believing that maintaining my schedule was worth it. I declined invitations, thinking I was prioritizing my goals. But what I sacrificed were genuine connections. It wasn't until I saw the joy in my friends' shared experiences that I realized the cost of my rigidity. This was a pivotal moment for me that made me rethink the relationship between discipline and happiness. So why does this rigid self-discipline often lead to burnout? To understand this, we need to look deeper into how we perceive growth. We often think of self-discipline as a clear-cut trait. You either have it or you don't. But this binary thinking can lead to a toxic atmosphere for personal growth. Consider the story of a colleague who aimed to finish her master's degree in a single year. She worked late hours and sacrificed her weekends, pushing herself relentlessly. At first, her dedication seemed admirable, and she was excelling in her studies. But eventually, the pressure overwhelmed her. She became irritable and isolated from friends, questioning her career direction. Pushing herself to the brink only led to anxiety and stress, stifling her creativity. Rather than thriving, she found herself trapped in a cycle of stress that detracted from her studies. This unintended consequence of pursuing discipline reveals how it can sometimes hinder instead of help us grow. So, what's the alternative? How can we shift our mindset towards a more flexible approach to personal growth? I've discovered that self-discipline doesn't need to be rigid. What if we approached our goals with a bit more kindness towards ourselves? For instance, I've learned to adapt my routine rather than rigidly sticking to a 5 a.m. wake-up call. Some mornings, I wake up early and tackle my tasks. Other days, I listen to my body and allow myself to sleep in. Initially, this brought a wave of anxiety. I questioned if I was failing. But as time went on, I found that honoring my needs boosted my energy and enthusiasm. My productivity improved, and my creativity blossomed. By prioritizing how I felt over a strict schedule, I allowed myself the flexibility to thrive. This approach embodies self-compassion, acknowledging our current state and adapting as needed. It's not about discarding discipline. It's about understanding that true growth often flourishes in an environment of flexibility. Let's explore some actionable steps for integrating self-compassion into your personal growth, making discipline a healthier part of your journey. Here's how to weave self-compassion into your daily routine. It might be simpler than you think. Start by tracking not just your tasks, but also your energy levels throughout the day. Instead of just noting what you achieved, rate your energy levels before and after each task on a scale of 1 to 5. I did this for a month, and it revealed surprising patterns. I discovered which tasks drained me and which invigorated me, allowing me to adjust my schedule accordingly. For example, I realized I was most productive in the mornings but needed a break by mid-afternoon. Implementing short breaks revitalized my focus. Another strategy is to conduct daily self-check-ins. Spend a few minutes reflecting on your feelings and workload. Are you overwhelmed? These reflective moments help you fine-tune your approach. Lastly, create a flexible plan rather than rigid goals. Instead of declaring, I will exercise 5 days this week, try saying, I intend to move my body in ways that feel good. This shift promotes grace and understanding when life doesn't go as planned. These strategies help reshape your relationship with self-discipline, emphasizing compassion over rigidity. But there's one more thought you should consider. While navigating personal growth, remember, it's not a sprint. It's about how you feel along the journey. I often found myself comparing my progress to others, especially with social media showcasing achievements. It was easy to feel like I was lagging behind. Then I had a realization. Each person's journey is unique. This insight was freeing. It shifted my perspective from comparison to focusing on my growth. I began celebrating small victories rather than fixating on how far I had to go. Moments of joy, struggle, and learning became my true metrics for success. By stepping away from rigid self-discipline, I've learned that growth is about balance. Some days will demand discipline, while others will call for compassion. Next time the weight of self-discipline feels heavy, ask yourself, what would a compassionate approach look like here? This simple question can guide you towards new paths of self-discovery. Embrace this mindset, and you'll find a more compassionate approach to growth often leads to both fulfillment and better results.